Naughty.
Naughty? How old are you?
5.
Why is your name Naughty?
Because I smoke this whole hood. This is my hood.
You're not.
Let's just continue. Maybe we get a little more context. Maybe I'm just jumping to conclusions here. Let's continue.
I'm supposed to be a thug at 5.
I don't give a fuck, bro. This is
Okay.
what I...
Nope. Yeah. Now I'm well aware of the fact that I cannot tell anybody how to raise their damn kids, but I will speak my mind. Simple as that. This right here is nothing more than an example of what I oftentimes call the ghetto mentality that stems from the ghetto culture, right? This is what has become acceptable within said culture. This is a 5-year-old. Let me run this back one more time.
Naughty.
Naughty? How old are you?
5.
Why is your name Naughty?
Because I smoke this whole hood. This is my hood.
You're not supposed to be a thug at 5.
He is literally just repeating whatever he's hearing in his environment. He has no idea what that even truly means. That's why, again, I say I let this little boy off the hook. Now, there's going to be one day in his life when he has to take full responsibility and accountability for what has been conditioned and programmed into him, unfortunately. And I didn't want to make the assumption off the jump, just seeing, the way that he's dressed, etc. Maybe it's just New York or, somewhere on the East Coast. It just happens to be cold. But now that I've heard what is essentially in this young boy's psyche, I know that this is his costume, right? This is the Pop Smoke costume that's now made its way over the pond, over to the UK, to the Central Seas. Like, this is the little drill starter kit.
Fuck, bro. This is what I live at. I live in this project. Like, gang, smoking on dads.
Huh?
Bro, you're...
Gang, smoking on deads. Okay. It truly amazes me how individuals like myself who choose to speak out about these sorts of things are oftentimes labeled as a sellout. Yet the individuals who are raising children 5 years old talking about gang, I'm smoking on deads, those individuals are seen as part of the culture. Is the mathematicking for you right now? The people who are speaking out against this sort of behavior, pointing it out and saying we need to do better, are the ones who are seen as the problem in this community. And the ones who are raising these children to be like this are the ones who are seen as part of the community. The reason why I'm drawing this little image out for you guys is to make this point. If the community, if the culture, or if the society is promoting and endorsing its very own destruction or, toxic sort of behavior patterns, then it is the problem, right? They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to get anything of substance truly done. If it takes a village to raise that child, what about when that village is broken, is destructive, is toxic? What about then? Does it still take a village? Because the child that village is raising, and don't get it twisted, these communities are still raising these kids, right? Like back in the day, it was easy to see, it takes a village. Everybody cares about one another's kids. No. The community is still raising your kid. Your kid is just ending up in the gang, right? Your kid is just ending up in whatever that culture, that ecosystem is promoting, endorsing, and essentially not shunning away. So if this child came up and he started, reciting something out of Mark Twain's literature or Shakespeare, if he started to essentially, speak on how he is now becoming a conductor, he has ambitions of becoming something like a Mozart of old. If this was the sort of conversation he was having, I guarantee you it would be striking. Some folk would see that as a beautiful thing, the more sane folk, but others would see him as whitewashed, right? As not black enough and not being a part of the culture. But unfortunately, this is what is normalized. This is what we see. This is what I am exposed to more often than not. And I'm exposed to this because I'm looking at things from the reality of what they are, as opposed to the fantasy of what we want it to be. In order for us to get to the ideal, we have to first look at the reality. And this is where we are. We're at a place where a 5-year-old kid is speaking like this. I'll run it back one more time. It's a very short clip, so.
Naughty.
Naughty? How old are you?
5.
Why is your name Naughty?
Because I smoke this whole hood. This is my hood.
You're not supposed to be a thug at 5.
I don't give a fuck, bro. This is what I live at. I live in this project. Like, gay, smoking on dads.
And again, it's not just the conversation that his parents are having. It's the music that he's exposed to, obviously, which means that the parent or whoever is in this child's life, is allowing them to be exposed. And a large part of parenting is exposure. What are you allowing your child to be subject to? Because that is your job. Like, as much as parents got going on, people got things that they have to do in order to make a living, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not easy for anybody. That's why, again, I can't tell anybody how to raise your children. But I will say that if you do not make a conscious decision of what your child is going to be exposed to, then your child will continuously be exposed to whatever is out there, right? If you're not watching with a keen eye, oh, but what about privacy? Look, in the day and age that we're living in, privacy does not exist. Your child could be subject to all sorts of individuals through that screen. When it comes to privacy, okay, this ain't the day and age of your journal, right? You got a little journal somewhere in the cabinet tucked off under your drawers. This ain't that. This is the day and age where these kids, in a click of a button, could be exposed to something that is going to warp their mind completely in an instant. And if we're not doing something about it, then nobody does. And then we continue to perpetuate another generation of gang smoking on deads. And FYI, for anybody wondering what the hell that even means, smoking on deads, like this, I believe it came out of Chicago, like smoking on two. Basically, they're saying I'm smoking on my enemy's ashes. That's what they're saying. It's a disrespect to whoever's life has been taken, whoever life they took. They're smoking on the ashes of their enemy, is what they're saying. That sounds, the way I'm saying it right now sounds real poetic or whatever, but it's a very, very ugly reality. I'll smoke this whole hood, meaning I would take everybody's life in this entire place. That's the mentality. Again, we think it's funny, we think it's cute, but exposure is everything. What you're subject to is going to create your perception and your reality. Folks on the so-called left, the so-called liberals, love to talk about representation. We need more representation. Well, there's your representation. The representation of gang is going to create more gang. That's going to make that, again, it's like, it's one thing if you are creating a PSA per se, right? A warning, a telltale. But instead, what they're doing is promoting it. That's what's being done. And we can blame the little hat people, the white man, or whoever the hell. But when it's all said and done, it is the older brothers, the fathers, the uncles, etc. of this young boy who have let him down, who are supposed to be doing a job of protecting him from these said ideas, from protecting him and instilling in him a better way of living as opposed to regression. By the time he's 14, 15, now he might essentially lose his life to that gang lifestyle. So yeah, again, I know that, I don't want to make it as if I'm just pointing at or picking at or whatever it is, but I'm here on purpose. And the mission is very clear: to wake us all the hell up. So if this is what it takes, then this is what it takes. We can't have this anymore. Again, I'm not going at this little kid. I don't have to call him all sorts of names outside of his name. It's just to simply point out to say, this is the wrong direction, young fella. We got to do better. So again, as parents, you're blessed enough to have the opportunity to have a child in your life, children in your life, who you can make the greatest influence in. If you don't take that responsibility with all seriousness, then gang smoking on deads. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 365, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.